everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bench to Bold. I'm Marnie.
And I'm Alisa.
And today we are so excited because we have Rebecca joining us from Mabel's Misfits. Love the name. Rebecca, I love everything that you're doing. So thank you for joining us. And we're so excited to have you share Mabel's Misfits with us.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited to speak to you guys today. I've been looking forward to this all week. So I can't wait to share my vision with you guys and all of my ideas and crazy stories.
Well, so tell us about, Mabel's Misfits. What is Mabel's Misfits?
So basically, Mabel's Misfits is a non-profit that I started last year. It began with a pig that I rescued randomly. I wasn't intending on finding a pig, but a friend of mine said, like, hey, I found a pig. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going out of town in 45 minutes. Like, can you help me? And for whatever reason, I said, just bring it here. I'll figure it out. And that kind of was a catalyst, or was the catalyst of everything that like transpired afterwards. I had already been thinking about doing a non-profit because I work so closely with animals and I help out with a lot of other rescues like South Charlotte Dog Rescue, things like that. And I wanted to do something really for the animals that everybody forgets about, like the reptiles, the small animals like rabbits, things like that. Animals that really just get overlooked. And when Mabel came into my life, it just it all fitted together, and we decided to call her Mabel because Mabel means worthy of love. And I didn't know that at the time, and as a joke I kind of like threw it out there and I was like, well, maybe I'll call my non-profit Mabel's Misfits. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that works. All the misfits that are worthy of love. And so as it grew, it has become like a community based non-profit. So many people of all different ages and abilities are getting involved. And really, all the misfits are getting together, and it's giving people purpose and getting them back into nature and back into working with animals and things. And I just love seeing the smiles that it's bringing to people's lives and faces. And it all started with a pig, you know.
But you've always been an animal lover. I mean, I've only known you for a few months, bringing Coco to get her groomed, but you've always been a lover of animals, right?
Yep, I've from a very, very young age, being with animals and in nature has just brought so much comfort to me, especially like during like traumatic times. And I use nature and my love of animals really to get through those difficult moments in my life. And they brought me so much comfort. And over the years, I've learned so much about nature, especially in the UK. And now I'm applying it to, US nature. So that's like a big journey for me. But, just learning about animals and, whether they're tamed and, domestic animals or wild, like I've always had a passion for it. And I want to be able to give other people that experience. I want other people to be able to heal from working with animals, volunteering with animals, caring for animals, and also caring for the environment.
So, Mabel, all right. So your friend calls you. I'm fascinated because I feel like that could have been me. And your friend calls you, and so it's very relatable. And they're like, "I'm leaving in 45 minutes, and I have a pig, and probably like 120 pounds, maybe 200 pounds. I don't know."
So she was actually probably about this big when I took her, and everyone said like she's a mini pig. There are no such things as mini pigs. They
No,
grow.
my
No,
children have tried to convince me to get a mini pig.
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's an oxymoron. No.
Yeah, and it's so pigs actually keep growing up until the age of 5. So they do most of their growing between 1 and 3, but they keep growing until they're 5, and they can live up to 20 years. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I, took her on. I mean, ChatGPT has been my friend. I have researched so much with her. And yeah, I mean, she was this big, and now she's probably at least 200 pounds.
And just okay, so all right. So your friend calls, or like, "Hey, Rebecca, I have, I'm going out of town. Can you come get this random pig that I found?" and you're like, sure, I'll be right there. Like I totally get it. By the way, like I am you. Like I see you. Like I get it. So then you get the pig, and then what? And then what happens?
And it just, I mean, I already had a
Does she stay
pen.
inside? Does Mabel live in,
Oh
like, does she
no,
stay
oh
in the
no.
house?
So
Oh, okay.
I already had a pen that I had been raising ducks in the year previous, and I hadn't torn it down yet. And so I kind of like put her in there. I called round to a few of my friends, and I was like, hey, I need to build a shelter for this pig. I need like pig food. Like, what do I do? All of a sudden, I had 4 or 5 people bringing pallets, tarps, roofing, everything. We all kind of got together, created like this safe environment for her. And that was it. And then eventually, I got a call from another friend of mine who said, "Hey, there's a piglet that's being abused at a public event," and I was like, "Oh gosh, there's another pig. Like, what am I going to do?" And after I kind of like saw everything that was going on with this other animal at this event, I went there and I got that pig. I managed to get this other piglet from this company that was running this event. And so I brought Henry home, and I put them together because pigs are social animals. They need a friend. And I'd had Mabel for a few months. So I now ended up with 2 pigs. Again, I was
Mhm.
like, what the hell am I doing? I thought I'm absolutely crazy. Like there wasn't a hesitation in my mind. Like most people would hesitate and go, can I afford this? And I was like, I'm going to afford this. I'm going to make it work. Well, fast forward a little bit. I spent the whole of the summer last year building an actual hobbit house for the pigs and a brand new enclosure. I spent the entire summer building like a home out of ancient techniques and stuff. And I literally have built them a hobbit house. So now they've moved in there. They moved in there Christmas Day. They have a huge enclosure that I built with my hands and a couple of friends of mine. And it's just been an adventure, honestly. Like it's been a crazy whirlwind of an adventure.
That's fantastic. Well, you obviously have a very large heart to take in all the animals that need places. So, Mabel's Misfit. So, you were grooming dogs and you had an idea that you wanted to start a nonprofit. And so, tell us about that. Like how suddenly you went from having Mabel and then Henry and then all the other animals that are in your menagerie.
It's it's almost like everything's just been, it's meant to be, pretty much. You know, my day job is I run a dog grooming business. So I'm grooming all day. I'm super, super busy, too busy sometimes, but I work from home. So I'm able to kind of, I say I'm able, I manage, everything from home. I have my business going. I have all of the animals. I mean, right now, I have 23 chickens, and 9 of those are baby chicks that were surrendered to me. I have like 2 rabbits, I have fish, all sorts of animals, but they all contribute to what I'm trying to do. So the rabbits, even though they're for adoption and I'm looking for homes for them, and they require medical needs and things. So of course, being a non-profit, I have to fundraise. So that's a second job in itself. So I'm very, very busy, but the rabbits, like their waste contributes to the garden that I'm building, because it's great fertilizer. The same thing with the pigs. I'm just trying to really like make sure all of the animals play their part, and they can. We can all basically live in harmony together.
So, all right. So, tell us about a daily. So, when you're not grooming the dogs, you have these animals and you have to feed them. What is
Yeah.
that? And so is there like, can you, asking for a friend, hello, that friend is me, apparently. Do they need to have special zoning? The pigs or the animals, or how does that work out in your lifestyle?
So you mean like residentially?
Yeah.
So I only have animals here that I'm allowed to have.
Okay.
The pigs aren't livestock; they're pets.
Got it.
And they're
Okay.
rescues. The rabbits don't count. The chickens, again, I have a permit to keep chickens anyway because I had chickens before. So it all kind of blended in together. Eventually, I would love to be able to purchase a big piece of land and just preserve it, for
Mhm.
nature and wildlife, and have a bigger facility. And, this is like 5, 10 years down the road. I would love to have an education centre there to teach people about wildlife, horticulture, caring for animals. There are so many ways that this could go. But on a daily basis, I get up at the crack of dawn. Well, I try to. I get up, I let the dogs out, I feed them, and then it's like a whole rotation every day. I feed the chickens, the pigs, the rabbits, the fish, the dogs, the cat. And then, probably about 15 minutes before I have to start work, I have a cup of coffee, I sit down for 30 seconds, and then I'm back at it downstairs working away with the dogs. And that's every day. But I love
Well,
it.
yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, that sounds really, I know it's exhausting and a
Yeah.
lot. So hopefully we can get some people out there to contribute and to help you, because it's a full-time job and you really are tethered to it. You can't leave because, uh, who's going to take care of the animals? So
Right.
what, do they have any unique, eating habits, or what do you feed everybody?
So every single animal has their own feed. The chickens have their own feed and treats and whatnot, and the pigs and the rabbits. Luckily, those guys all can eat like fresh produce. So I have a couple of people that bring me some fresh
Mhm.
produce here and there. I always tell my clients, hey, if you're going away, or if you've got, your fridge is overrun with vegetables and stuff, like, bring it over. Don't let it go to waste. You may not eat it, but the pigs will, the rabbits will. We recycle everything here. And again, I'm trying to form like this whole concept of, the animals can help contribute with their waste to fertilizing the gardens and things that I'm building. Um, so although, like, I spend a lot of money on feed, it definitely goes back into into the whole project.
So how do people find you, Rebecca? How would what kind of fundraising are you doing, or how do people know about your philanthropy so that they could contribute or get involved or donate? How do people get in touch with you?
So right now, obviously, it's very early on. Right now, I have a website going. I have a donation link on there. Currently, I actually have a raffle because I'm trying to raise money so I can start a campaign called "It Started with a Seed." And basically, I'm trying to implement this into schools, and I have some meetings coming up with some local schools and school boards and things. But I'm trying to get these seed packets of wildflowers distributed into the community with schools, families, other organisations. Basically, will raise money for my nonprofit. But when a person buys the seed packets, they'll have a unique QR code so they can become a Misfit member. Because I want this to be about everybody. I want to incorporate everybody's ideas. I want everybody of any ability to be involved. So the idea is that once people start purchasing the seed packets, they can become a Misfit member, and I can help guide them on how to grow wildlife gardens in their own backyard. And it doesn't have to be big. They can be potted wildlife areas, things like that. Every little bit that anyone can do will make a big difference because it's a collaboration of effort. But I'm trying to raise money predominantly for my seed campaign, which will be basically a continuation of Mabel's Misfits mission. It's going to help to raise money for community cleanups, for animal rescue, to help towards so many different things. So right now, like, that's the priority, and obviously just general, like, raising money to help feed the animals and to get them their vet care needs, like spaying rabbits, things like that. I mean, I have to do everything by the book, and I have to make sure that when I'm rehoming certain animals, like, they're healthy, they're health guaranteed. I've had them spayed and neutered, stuff like that. So it's an ongoing thing. Fundraising, like I said, is is a job in itself.
Well, there's so many guidelines. It was like the other day when I
Hmm.
called you about Bucky, the deer in my neighborhood,
Hmm.
asking if you knew anyone that could take Bucky to save his life because I'm so afraid that, the neighbors or someone is going to, kill Bucky or harm Bucky or he's going to get, he doesn't venture pretty much he doesn't venture out of the neighborhood toward the road but or hit by a car or anything. And you were so helpful to let me know that some of those things you just can't do.
No,
Like
and
I had
there are
no idea
so
it would be a
many.
felony.
Right. There are so many regulations when it comes to wildlife in particular. A lot of people don't realize that if you find a feather that's from a bird of prey, for example, you can't pick it up and you can't take it
Mhm.
home. Because if anybody, if the authorities found that feather in your home, I mean, the chances are unlikely, but if they found that feather, you cannot um prove where you got that feather from. And birds of prey are protected like federally. So there are so many regulations with things like that. And again, you cannot um, help and save a wild animal without a wildlife rehabilitation license. Because basically animals become domesticated somewhat, and then they can't be put back out into the wild. They're going to struggle. So again, that's another part of my nonprofit's mission is to educate people on the things you can and can't do. But there are a lot of things that people can do. When you find a wild animal, you just have to keep it warm, but you don't give it any food or water. And you just have to find your closest wildlife rehabilitation organization, and they'll help you. There are so many numbers out there. You just give them a call and they'll send you in the right direction.
So, Rebecca, where did this love of, I want to call you Mother Nature. Where did this love of nature and wildlife and animals? Obviously, we love our pets and we're great pet owners, but have not taken it to the level that you have. But where did this love of nature and pets and giving back? Where did it come from?
Again, it stems from a very young age. I'd probably say around the age, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5. And I can remember like certain things like back then. My grandfather was a massive influence in my life. As a child, he would take us around my county of Surrey, and we would work on pond conservation. My granddad would always have a book of wildlife in front of me. That's all I read as a kid. And he would wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning some days when I would stay with them. And we would go down to the pond that he had built, and we would watch dragonflies come out of the water, their nymph climb up a reed and hatch into a dragonfly. And we would spend hours, and the sun was rising, and we would see this dragonfly like turn into this dragonfly nymph turn into this beautiful dragonfly. And that just amazed me as a child. And he would teach me about ponds and nature, and just how we all rely on each other. Every animal relies on each other, and there needs to be a balance in nature for all of us to thrive, not just animals but us too. And I think he just like that was just ingrained in me from a young age. And I just found so much comfort being out in nature and seeing different birds and just making a difference. I just enjoyed it. It was peaceful. And realistically, this was a time before we were glued to our phones too. And I spent a lot of time over the last few years like being glued to my cell phone, social media and things. I found when I returned back into nature and I started doing these things, like I felt so much better. I felt lighter. I felt like I was making a difference just on my own property. And then, just like I said, like slowly people have become more involved and more interested. And I've just seen it like the passion and the influence just grow. And it is amazing. Like being out in nature is so healthy for mental health, the soul. It's invigorating.
Yeah.
So I have to ask because I love nature too, but I literally can't stand the sight of a spider or snakes. Do you have that? Do you have the love for all animals? Are you Talk a little bit about that,
I mean,
because
like, don't get me wrong. I'm a little bit squirmy when it comes to certain bugs and
I mean, you have to
snakes.
ask.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to learn to be brave around certain animals that I'm not accustomed to. Again, moving from the UK to the States, I was not used to snakes. I never saw a snake in the UK. So I now I have a snake cook because I find snakes quite often. So I have to, get them out of the chicken coop and stuff. I've got that down to an art, but for sure. But it's taken time. Um, but the thing is, I've come to learn, and again, this is something that I would love to teach other people, is that when you have the right balance in your backyard, nature takes care of itself. When we're not using pesticides and we're encouraging animals like bats and other pollinators and other insects into our backyard, nature kind of balances itself. By attracting insects into the yard, you attract birds. When you have bird feeders, that attracts birds and they take care of the insects. And bats, again, like, bats can eat up to 1,000 mosquitoes in one night. So, we're spending a fortune on mosquito treatments that affect other insects and other animals and plants, on our property and in the environment. But actually, just by encouraging bats and giving them a safe place to roost, basically, will help with the mosquito numbers. You don't have to pay, they're free, and you're helping an animal thrive. So it's just about, like, finding the right balance. Obviously, there are some things that you can't do without a little bit of intervention, but for the most part, like, nature balances itself. And again, like with planting and things, like, you can plant so many plants that will help the environment and help problem areas like bugs and things like that people dislike so much. Again, like I said, if you have the right balance, I don't have a problem. Like, I don't have a problem since I've been building my wildlife garden. I'm giving the bugs places to go that are far away from the house, and I'm encouraging the birds and other animals to my property, and everything seems to be pretty balanced here.
So can you send some bats over to my house, because I
Oh,
don't live that far from
100%.
you, and I have a ton of mosquitoes. I have a pool and I live on a golf
Uh-huh.
course, and I'm allergic to mosquitoes. So I did not know
Same.
that information about bats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to have you send some bats over.
And actually, I've got the local Boy Scout troop building bat houses for me. So again, I've been getting, like, Boy Scouts and things involved, and they actually have come over here quite a few times to help with cleanups. They cleaned out the creek that runs through the property. They got all the trash out that's come down from town. They've done a spectacular job, but they've been building owl boxes and bat boxes for me. And the hope is to continue to fund that for them to do, because it's an amazing project for them. It gets them their conservation badges, it gets them involved. But I would love to be able to distribute those to the community. Like, for example, you have a mosquito problem. We could put a bat box up on a tree, away from your property, that will encourage bats to come, and they'll start taking care of the bugs for you, for sure.
We have to wait till I move. The homeowners association would charge me $100 a day for the bat box. They charge me $100 a day when I put a damn wreath on my front door for Christmas
No.
a day before Thanksgiving. So yeah, we want to wait till I move, Rebecca, before we bring bat boxes to the trees.
But I love the idea of, of everything, it does it's a delicate balance. I mean, in life, finding the delicate balance is really where success happens, and where you feel
Yeah.
really, healthy and good. But obviously in nature, and, and having nature around us. Years ago, I was in the United Kingdom and I went to the New Forest. Do you know, have you ever
Yeah,
heard?
my parents actually live about 20 minutes from there now.
And, a friend took
Beautiful.
me there. And as a horse person, it was it was, so they have horses, Alisa, that just roam around. Like, you just
They're
walk.
wild.
They're
They're,
wild.
they're
Yeah.
wild horses, but you're in the city and there's just horses everywhere. And
What part of the UK is this?
it's
It's in
about,
Hampshire.
yeah. about
Hampshire, New
2
Forest.
hours from London, I
Yeah.
think, about 2 hours. Yeah, and it's called the New
Wow.
Forest. And it is it's magical because I love horses, but it's amazing because they're just wild horses just walking through the streets and existing with everybody. And it's something that I would be curious to know, like, the people that live in that area, what their health is like and all those things, because I would imagine that their blood pressure and their anxiety and all the things that people have from, like, constantly, which I do too, but now you're with nature and the horses are just right behind you. And there is nothing better. I mean, as a horse person, I can say this, but, like, I love the smell of horses. Like, some people don't like it. Like, I think the smell and them being right there. So it would be interesting to see, like, what the statistics are on people's health and wellness in that
Absolutely.
community where there's just wildlife just running around right next to
Exactly.
you.
Yeah. I mean, it's scientifically proven that when you work with animals, it lowers your blood pressure and it lowers your anxiety. Being out in nature, and I don't know if necessarily you believe in the whole frequency, mm, concept. There are different like frequencies around us and things like that. But being out in nature, you're away from electrical equipment, which does
Mhm.
affect us, and you're working with your hands and you're touching soil, and there is something so therapeutic about that. And just like with horses, like there are certain like smells, like farm smells, like or nature smells, like wet rain on the grass. Like it just kind of it just brings back these amazing memories. And I don't know, it's just it's so therapeutic being outside.
Well, they do a lot of, work with autistic children with horses.
They do. It's called
Hmm.
hippotherapy.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
And
just
it's
because the gait of the horse matches sometimes if there's some dysregulation in what they are. But there's a whole thing called forest bathing. Like, I mean, my parents used to spend a lot of time in Wyoming, and whenever we would go there in the summers, uh, it, I could tell, like, the minute that we would cross over the mountain pass, it was like you just kind of
exhale.
yeah, it's just amazing how it does that. And just seeing the mountains and seeing the
Mhm.
nature and then having young kids kind of go out there. Yeah,
Mhm.
it truly is. But the smells of it, the forest bathing, they make sprays that are probably toxic, which I own, but whatever. But I like the idea that the smells
Smell.
do make you feel that you're out in nature and that you're surrounding yourself with things that are healthy, and the plants and the mountains and the air. There's something
Mhm.
so rehabilitating about it. And I know that there's programs that uh, some places do, hospitals and for people that are in the hospital, to try to bring some nature to them, because when you're in that sterile
Yeah.
environment, you definitely have no access. Have you I've been in hospitals where they would bring animals around. Can you bring Mabel and Henry to
Yes.
hospitals and do pet therapy with them?
I don't think I could do pet therapy with the pigs because I don't know how it would go getting a 200-pound
Oh
sassy
yeah.
pig into the back of my car.
Right.
And Mabel's a princess, like she's the queen. She
Of course.
controls
Good for her.
everything here. And pigs are so like they're so talkative and intelligent. So when she's upset with something, you know about it. But the thing is like another idea I've had with my nonprofit is, I would love to take some of the very well handled animals to schools, to, other places like other organizations where I can teach children in a calm, controlled environment how to handle animals, like what care these animals need. Because that's another thing we find that kids, for example, kids want a bunny, and a bunny could be a 9-year commitment. And bunnies actually are they're very time consuming. They need cleaning, they need to have vaccinations, they need to have their nails clipped, you need to make sure they don't have ear infections, that their teeth aren't getting long. And you often find that these animals are with their new owner for like a year or two, and then it just becomes either too much work, or the kids lose interest, or the kids are too rough, so the animals become scared, and then you can't handle them because now they've become fearful. And I would love to be able to go to schools, or even churches or scout groups, or Girl Scouts and things like that, and teach kids and young adults too how to handle animals properly, and how to read animal body language and stuff. And I don't know if that's something that comes natural to me, or if it's just a skill that I've developed over the years. But sometimes I feel like I understand animals better than I do people. And I've
Well,
been like that my whole life.
some people are really intuitive just in general and can and have that calling where they can certainly communicate with people, but animals definitely. And I would think birthday parties when my kids were growing up, we always had some sort of, you know, people, whether it was animal people bringing exotic animals, and but I would say birthday parties for kids is a great place to maybe think about, they could hire you as an expert to come and talk about
Mhm.
animal care and talk about rabbits and talk about the chickens, and kids would really enjoy it. And then that's a great way to raise awareness and raise money too, because
Yeah,
at kids birthday parties you're always looking for an activity, and
right.
you only have so many bounce houses where it's fun.
Yeah.
Entertaining.
Yeah.
You're
And
right.
I feel like with that, obviously there are a lot of mobile petting zoo companies out there. And, some of them are fantastic, and some of them treat their animals wonderfully. But I always feel almost bad for animals when they're in those kind of environments, because there's a lot of screaming kids. There's a lot of people handling the animals. There's no sanitation between handling different animals. So there's cross contamination, possibly, of diseases and things like that people don't think about. I would love to, instead of going and like having almost like an event where I go to these parties and the kids are all excited about the animals and things like that. I would like them to be excited, of course, but I want to change the mentality of it. So it's more about education and kids learning and understanding how to be quiet around them, how to be calm, things like that. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I've witnessed several you know, um, mobile petting zoos and things like in town events and stuff. And it's crazy. It's crazy. And the animals, a lot of those animals they must be terrified. And there's always a risk with kids holding the animals and handling them. The animals can get injured and things like that. So I want to teach kids how to handle the animals properly. Um, and I do feel like learning to care for animals and nature helps us to develop empathy. And I believe that starting, with younger generations and teaching them how to care for other things, it helps them grow into caring adults. And really, that's what, like, one of the main things I want to implement. I want to teach people and teach young children how to care from an early age, and be empathetic towards others, and have a genuine care for other people and other animals and the world around them. And I feel like by teaching children how to care from an early age, I feel like that's possible.
So I know you have all these big plans for Mabel's Misfits, but we have to transport them somehow. Is it in your plans to actually have a mobile, to be able to purchase a mobile transport vehicle for these
For
animals to
the
be able to
animals, so I mean, obviously, I have my own personal vehicle that I can transfer animals. I mean, I don't intend on getting any, or rescuing any very large animals like livestock. I'm really sticking to the smaller, the misfit animals, the animals that get overlooked, like dogs and cats. They go to the shelters, or animal control, or different rescues pick them up. And a lot of people know where to adopt a cat or a dog from. It's more accessible. But animals like rabbits, even rats are fantastic. People don't like them, but they are phenomenal pets. for younger children, reptiles, guinea pigs, all those random misfit animals that people don't typically know where to get them from. So they put money into the wrong hands and they get exotic animals from unlicensed breeders and things like that. I want Mabel's Misfits to be a place that people think of like, I'm going to check with them first and see what they have, or if I can. Also, as I do um, rescue animals and adoption, I think it's a great opportunity for volunteers to experience what those like. It's for people that, for example, want to get a rat interested, or they don't even know about rats being good pets. I can educate them and I can show them like, hey, like this animal, would you like to hold it? Would you like to handle it? See what you think. You can see how smart they are and how to them, things like that, and give them that experience before they go ahead and adopt or purchase that kind of thing.
I think that that sounds wonderful. Rebecca, thank you so much for sharing Mabel's Misfits.
You're
I am
welcome.
definitely going to take a trip out to
Oh, you're welcome
visit,
anytime.
oh my gosh, I cannot wait,
Yeah, it's
yes.
fun. Every time I pull in the driveway, I'm like, oh, what can I see today?
Yeah.
So cute.
Oh, there's always
Alisa.
something
Yeah,
new. There's
I
always
know.
something new.
Yeah,
Mm,
chickens running
yeah.
around. You see Henry, you see Mabel, you
Yep.
see the rabbit.
Mhm. All right.
Coco loves it.
Yes. I
Oh,
think
well,
that
I
that
love
sounds,
Coco.
I think that that sounds great. And I love your mission. And how can people find you?
Again, I have my own website. It's www.mabelsmisfits.com. Really easy to remember. The website is being built, but it is active. It is live. They can contact me on there if anyone's interested in getting involved, because again, I want this to be for everybody. I don't want it to be my non-profit. I want it to be for everyone. I want every misfit. I don't have any discrimination against abilities, gender, anything. I want everyone to be part of this, and I want it to be inclusive. So everyone feels like they have a purpose, and that's my biggest thing. I want people to feel like they have a purpose in taking care of the environment, taking care of nature, the world around them, and other people. So, again, they can go on my website, they can contact me by email, they can go on Instagram or Facebook as well. We are actually having an event on Earth Day. Well, Waxhaw, it's a brand new park. They have a wildlife garden down there, and I'm going to be set up on the 18th, which is next Saturday. And I'm going to be talking to everybody in the community. We're going to have a raffle to raise money where you can get a professional portrait done with Mabel and Henry inside their hobbit house. Um, I'm going to have lots of prizes, lots of games and things going on between 1 and 3 in downtown Waxhaw. And we're just going to have a lot of fun. So again, you can come out and see me if you want to come and chit chat. I'm going to probably take one of my chickens and maybe a bunny with me. I was thinking about Mabel, but she didn't seem too keen. So yeah, I'm going to have a couple of animals with me and just some fun things, t-shirt sales, things like that, going on there for a couple of hours. And hopefully I get to meet a lot of people that are interested or have no idea, and maybe spark an interest or inspire somebody at that event. So feel free to come and see me then.
That is wonderful. Well, thank you, Rebecca. What an
Welcome.
education. Thank you for joining us on Bench to Bold. I'm Marnie,
And I'm Alisa.
and we'll see everybody back really soon.